Tonight, the federal government is just 24 hours away from shutting down as Republicans and Democrats play a high-stakes game of chicken with the budget.
Yeah, there was some progress, however, late today, but unless a major breakthrough happens tomorrow, all non-essential government services will go dark starting Saturday. KCAL 9 political reporter Dave Bryan joins us now with the very latest tonight. Dave?
Yeah, and tomorrow in the Senate will be a much tougher fight for the Republicans on this issue. The chances of a government shutdown tomorrow night at midnight are still very real. The House passed a short-term fix tonight. The Senate will tackle it tomorrow. Right now, it appears the Republicans may not have the 60 votes they need to pass it. So here's where things stand right now.
The House has sent us a bill. There would be an easy yes vote.
Just minutes after the House passed a 4-week funding bill to keep the federal government from shutting down, the debate was already underway in the Senate. But there was nothing easy about it.
We all know what the problem is. It's complete disarray on the Republican side. Our Republican leader has said that he will not negotiate until he knows where President Trump stands. That's why negotiations haven't gotten anywhere.
House Leader Mitch McConnell argued the reason the budget bill won't pass is because the Democrats are trying to blackmail the Republicans into including a DACA immigration reforms in the budget package.
They're prepared to shut down the government over the issue of illegal immigration. There's a bipartisan interest in solving the DACA problem, but the president has given us until March. The last time I looked, this was January.
But Carson Congresswoman Nanette Diaz-Barragán told me in an interview from Washington this week that the Trump administration has been unresponsive on DACA until the heat is turned up.
The reality is that this is the only way we're going to get them to come to the table and be serious about this issue. Look, in September, they told us, give us just a little more time. Between September and December, they didn't come to the table.
Barragán and all but 6 Democrats voted no on the stopgap government funding bill on Thursday, but it passed almost entirely with Republican votes.
On this, the yeas are 230, the nays are 197. The motion is adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
The stopgap spending bill would keep the government open through mid-February, and it includes a 6-year extension of the Children's Health Insurance Program known as CHIP. But passage of the bill wasn't a sure thing until House Speaker Paul Ryan did some negotiating with the conservative Republican Freedom Caucus and likely made some concessions.
He put forth a few things for our caucus to consider that would actually be beneficial to the military.
After the vote, Democrats blasted the bill for what it doesn't contain.
We should not be afraid of stopping this government if we have to do it, because we need to do something for the dreamers.
I rise today in the midst of yet another looming government shutdown and an impending nightmare for dreamers created by those who run Washington.
The bill now faces a tough test because it will require 60 votes in the Senate to shut down a filibuster and approve the bill. And House Republican leaders urge Senate Democrats not to sabotage the bill and shut down the government.
The only people standing in the way of keeping the government open are Senate Democrats. Whether there is a government shutdown or not is now entirely up to them.
And if there is a government shutdown tomorrow night,
We're ready if that's what happens. We hope not.
some government agencies are already reassuring the public in case there is a shutdown. The Transportation Security Administration, for example, says air traffic controllers would remain on duty, shutdown or no shutdown. But many government employees, including civilian defense workers, would be furloughed.
The group that loses big would be the military, and we're never letting our military lose at any point.
And the Washington Post now reporting that the possibility of a government shutdown is moving closer to a certainty tonight because the paper says the Senate Democrats are now apparently united in vowing to vote against the stopgap funding bill tomorrow. And at least 2 Senate Republicans are expected to join them. That would leave the Republicans far short of passing the bill, and that's one reason why they're now putting on a full-court press to blame the Democrats for the shutdown. So now we're into the blame game from both sides.
Sure, from both sides.
Yeah.
And the deadline is going to be Saturday morning at midnight is the deadline. We understand the president is leaving D.C. for the weekend, and of course you have this looming debate going on with the government shutdown. Where's he going?
Well, first let me say, the fact that he leaves Washington doesn't mean he isn't closely monitoring, or in touch with what's going on. The president is, of course, closely watching the situation, but tomorrow afternoon he's scheduled to leave Washington and fly to Florida and his Mar-a-Lago resort for a big bash and fundraiser celebrating the one-year anniversary of his inauguration. Now, we understand ticket prices start at $100,000 per couple, and those prices range as high as $250,000 for those who have a lot to give. Some political observers are wondering about whether the optics would play well at a time of possible government shutdown. But then, Jeff and Lena, you know, the other part of this, too, is that who knows? Maybe this thing will be solved and it won't be an issue tomorrow.
Yeah, how can the optics get any worse?
Yeah,
Dave? Thank you so much.
That's true. You're right.